Good morning, everybody. Good crack of noon, or just past noon, to our friends on the East Coast. I am Todd Obert, President and CEO of Productive Corporation. I'm joined here alongside me virtually from the Garden State, Mr. Jeff Forsyth, who is our Senior Pre-Sales Engineer at StealthBits. He's going to tell you everything that you need to know about StealthBits and how it can help you identify threats, secure your data, and reduce your risk, whether that's in Active Directory, Exchange, or different file systems. And I can't wait to hear it because it's pretty cool. So if you have to our events in the past, you know how we do it. We like to dispense with the fluff and get right down to the technology so you can see what actually is happening. How do I secure my environment better? What does this look like? Does it make sense for me? To that end, we will meet Productive in 1 minute. Then we will talk a little bit. We have a few slides of who is StealthBits and kind of what areas we're going to cover today. And then I'm going to turn the technology console over to Jeff, and he is going to absolutely dazzle you with his, his real live demo. And we will kind of take it from there. As you know, this is interactive. If you have questions, please utilize the chat feature, and we will get your questions answered. So with that, who is Productive Corporation? Well, I appreciate you asking. Sometimes you guys don't want to know, but I'm glad you asked today. Productive provides security solutions for mid-size companies. We have internal specialized expertise to help you with licensing, technical questions, as well as the service to implement the products that we sell. We also test and optimize the products. We can help you with your security posture, whether that's a security assessment, Active Directory, security services, and helping you improve your posture with AD, as well as configuring assistance, UTM, a bunch of different stuff. We can even help optimize that endpoint solution for you as well. In addition to that, we produce a lot of third-party content like this web event that we are doing. You can find all of that at productivecorp.com/content, as well as our YouTube channel. The bottom line is we have the resources to help you, whether it's implementation, assessment, licensing, or optimization service. We are here to help at productivecorp.com. One of the ways that we do this is that we do help you is by putting on educational content. So today we're going to be talking about StealthBits, and specifically StealthINTERCEPT on their product line, which we think is probably the best fit for our customers relative to the line. They have a bunch of great stuff. And as I mentioned at the top of the broadcast, Jeff Forsyth of StealthBits will be talking to us about that. Now, Jeff is from the Garden State, and I asked him, on this broadcast, who is his favorite rock and roll performer of all time, to which he said Bon Jovi, or I call Bon Jovi, which was his first cassette tape. I think he's spinning it in the background as he does this presentation. So listen closely, and let's give a warm virtual round of applause for Mr. Jeff Forsyth. Jeff?
Thank you for that introduction, Todd.
Yeah.
I will try and cue up some Bon Jovi in the background. Really eager for a lot of the StealthINTERCEPT components that we're talking about today.
I'm a cowboy.
I'm also joined by our partner management team lead for us here, Dan Bleiner, and he's going to talk a little bit about us as an organization, some of the slides that we're going to go through, and I'll walk us through the live demonstration of what we have for StealthINTERCEPT.
Thank you very much, yes. Thank you, Jeff. And everyone, I'm going to fly through these slides. We want to make sure to focus on content and the solution. But essentially, StealthBits Technologies is a data security software company. And the key, to our efforts here is being able to protect an organization's credentials as well as their sensitive data. With that, we have a number of different of our premier customers listed here, but that's one side of the coin. What's more important is around technology partnerships, and even further alliances like Productive. So, as you can see here, you're going to be able to see a breakdown of our StealthINTERCEPT solution. This is a change and access monitoring solution capable of deep-level insight into changes and access events going on in your Microsoft backend, whether it be Active Directory or your file systems or your Exchange platform. And this is extremely important in terms of your overall security posture. Because if you don't understand or see what's going on, what changes are being made to these critical components of your backend, you will be left vulnerable to any number of different threats that are out there in the market, and especially around authentication-based attacks. That's one of the areas that we're going to take a deeper dive into later on. If we could go to the next slide. So this is exactly where we want to live and breathe. And that's a great segue into the next slide. Within the Active Directory top use cases, authentication-based attack detection, whether it's horizontal, lateral account movement, brute force attacks, account hacking, breach passwords, concurrent logins, all of these kinds of threats are out there, and you need a way to detect them in your system so that they don't become that kind of headline worthy type breach, and we can be able to control them before they become so evasive or so pervasive within the environment. Obviously, object attribute level and GPO change detection, and then moving beyond just the Active Directory space, we get into the file systems. So file system operational monitoring, obviously this is going to tie into ransomware detection, data exfiltration activities. We provide real-time alerts to data access activities, which is really, I think, one of the most challenging aspects of security. Who is touching that IP? Who's going in to review that sensitive data at a given organization? And should they be allowed to? What kind of security do you have around that access? And of course, obviously, the modification, monitoring, and prevention on the share folder and file level. Now, moving into Exchange, top use cases around the messaging, mobility, unified communications platforms, around non-owner mailbox access monitoring and prevention. One of the real things that we see in security is around, who has access to a given mailbox. If you have one of those IT admins that can view the senior level, the C-level suite mailboxes, there could be very sensitive information that those individuals should not necessarily be privy to. And again, that also touches on the mailbox permission change detection prevention, so that members of the team can't necessarily cover their tracks by granting permission and then removing it. All of that is going to be able to be monitored and reported upon within the StealthINTERCEPT solution. And touching on again the last bullet there, just change and access detection. And at this point, I think is a great transition. We're going to be moving into the technical session, so I want to get through that quickly. But with that, I'm going to pass the chalk back to Jeff. He's going to run you through this architecture.
And thanks, Dan. So as far as the architecture is concerned, this is for us to achieve real-time monitoring. We're working outside of native logging. We're not relying on any of those kind of native components to see what's happening. We're working with kernel-level drivers, seeing the activity as it's occurring, or even effectively because we're seeing anything before it's applied to the directory or any kind of file system change is actually applied. We're seeing it before in faster than real time, and gives us the ability to step in and prevent those changes from occurring. So it is an agent-driven solution, bringing that communication right back to the brains of the operation, our enterprise manager, and then either relaying those events from native notification and reporting frameworks that we can send out that data and be able to consume it, or integrating with in-place SIM solutions that you may already have, whether it's ArcSight, Splunk, IBM QRadar. As long as there's syslog input like any good SIM should, we can fire that data off and utilize your existing solution that you have for any kind of event management. I think this is really the last slide. Todd, yes, go ahead.
So can you, you can run StealthINTERCEPT without a SIM, correct?
Correct. SIM, we can relay the events to SIM if it's in place, but it's not required for us to see that activity or be able to provide notifications on what we're seeing.
Yep, totally. And then do you guys integrate with Alien Vault as well?
We do. Alien Vault, we have a default template specifically for them as well.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, I appreciate that. So sounds like we're ready to take a look at this. So I am just going to make you presenter if you're ready, Jeff.
Yeah, go ahead. Send it over. Should be looking at my console here, StealthINTERCEPT. Are you able to see
looks
this?
great.
Hopefully everybody's can see. It's not too small or anything. Everybody's able to see what I've got on my StealthINTERCEPT console right now. Just from a configuration standpoint, in the last question you had asked, just even getting set up, it's really easy for that SIM integration. So Alien Vault's right there at the top. Any kind of generic one that we have, if it's something that we don't have a template for out of the box, it's easy for us to sign up for some of the other ones. As well as working closely with a lot of those SIM providers, we do have a lot of apps out there for their various types of app libraries for those SIM solutions, so QRadar and Splunk. Currently, I know we're working with Logarithm, and we're still expanding and making more apps available, even easier to stand up, get that data into a SIM solution. But really, that isn't necessary, as you pointed out. As long as we've got our agents out there, we're listening, we're able to understand what's going on, we can really start getting some insight. First, talking about Active Directory, and not just as we've always done in the past, being able to go out and see something like all AD changes, who's going out making modifications to any kind of object out there. If we're seeing any kind of GPO change, I might be just a little bit of delay here, but being able to see who's going out and doing what with the access that they have to Active Directory, what those changes are. We can see those object modifications, where they're originating from, who's responsible for those changes, and also any kind of additional data around it. Here, we're looking at all changes, so it's a ton of information. Like here, we see incremental count changes, hash updates, and then being able to break it down further and see something more specific, like group membership changes, who's being added, who's being removed from those groups, who's making those changes. Like we can see here, Scott's really doing his job. He's doing a lot of membership modifications. We can see what that activity is, who's responsible for it. So this is good from just a high level, just understanding, auditing perspective, all the changes that are occurring in your organization. But with AD, we also get visibility into the authentications that are occurring, being able to see all that activity and make sense of it all. If you ever just had to, if you dealt with Verizon, you've had a breach or anything like that, or you've listened to what's actually happening out in the world today, 8 months down the road, you're pulling down all of your audit success logs, what everybody's doing, and it's really hard to get an understanding. Here, in real time, I can set up rules and be able to say, if I see failed authentications, like here in a brute force attack scenario, somebody's going after a particular host, like here's 6,300 separate failed accesses to this particular host coming from an individual user. This is something that I can get alerted on and be cognizant of attempted accesses to a specific host object, specific user. If I'm seeing a lot of failed authentication, somebody's trying to capture access for this user, like here, Mr. Sudol left the organization, but for some reason he's still trying to gain access to my org here, and he's still trying to gain access to his account. So this can be indicative of people potentially trying to breach the organization, trying to gain access. If there is any kind of success, somebody succumbs to pass the hash scenario, any kind of phishing campaign, and they do get these baddies get access to a credential. One of the first things that they're going to do is try and discover what they have access to, the level of privilege that's available to them. So we see that typically translated into horizontal or lateral account movement. We see the account traversing multiple hosts. That's a good indication somebody's sniffing around, seeing what they have available to them. So here, like Peter just recently joined us, started running scans to get aware of our environment, and we found out and went and had a good conversation with him really quick, traversing 109 separate hosts. So this is a good indication that somebody's actually, your threat surface had been your threat surface was utilized and somebody's gained access to an account. And even if they've gotten access to it and they've discovered that there's some level of privilege worth retaining, that's where you would hear about a golden ticket, trying to modify that ticket to retain it for an extended period of time. So these are really good indicators utilizing authentication traffic to get insight into potential breaches or utilizing the accounts in a malicious manner. Aside from just understanding that authentication traffic, once that account is utilized, we get additional insight into it in those other areas like file system traffic and seeing what they're doing with the access, so that that data exfiltration or data theft scenario, as Dan had said, being able to see these file system attacks can be indicating that they're trying to pull down a ton of data, like that Sony, where you see them pulling down every bit of data from them. We would see the spikes, those spikes in activity, like Matt here, going out accessing 430 different or 4,300 individual files, and the activity associated with that. Seeing those kind of spikes, somebody goes out and touches 500 files in a 3-minute period or something like that. We can alert on that, identify that this activity is occurring, or even go so far as to automatically lock down that user from being able to perform any additional file activity on whatever file resources we have our agents currently running. So we can lock down, prevent that traffic from occurring after they've triggered this specific level of activity that we're trying to prevent. Aside from just seeing those kinds of spikes, those are kind of more of a heuristic analysis. We want to see that and understand what's happening with that traffic, but more definitive, just like a golden ticket. There's really no reason for that scenario or here that we see with my ransomware extension. There's no reason for an extension type like these 123s, triple X's, or something like that. These have all been associated with ransomware attacks in the past and are not tied to any typical any known application that's out there, unless of course you have something home built or something internally. You shouldn't be seeing these kinds of file names, or even the names of these types of instruction sets. We can go out and say, here we've identified, like Locky obviously was a big name for a while, and it's currently coming back in other flavors. We can see that these instruction sets are being built. This is another reason for us to go in and say, I want to disable this account immediately, instead of just getting an alert or warning. Yes, Todd.
How long does this take to get typically get a customer installed and rolling on, so they can see the time to value?
Time to value is pretty much immediate from us having a one-stop shop for our agent deployment, so that we don't have to do independent installs across all of your resources. We can take down resource management lists or any kind of area that we can pull down all the resources we want to deploy to, and get our agents installed and ran in bulk. And then really, like here with our ransomware extensions, this was just drag and drop. And right once I dropped it, all I had to do was say enable, and we were up and running. And the second we see any of these kind of file names show up from that point, from the point of inception, we're on top of it and reporting immediately.
And
so is there a lot of customization needed for an environment, or is it pretty good out of the box, or is it training need? What kind of needs does the customer have?
Really, from an implementation standpoint and training, normally it's just 1 or 2 days of actual training for whoever is going to be utilizing the product. But from an architecture and implementation standpoint for the organization, it's pretty much out of the box.
I actually want to kind of contribute a little anecdote in that one of the engagements I was working with a partner last year, we had actually installed in production, oftentimes, with a solution like this, that is the case. Within the POC, I think it was maybe the second day of the POC, we were actually able to show horizontal account movement within their environment right then within the POC. So you can imagine how that necessarily shape the discussion moving forward. But in terms of time to value, as Jeff mentioned, it's immediate.
Yeah.
And
that's something people want to know. So that's good. That's good to hear.
Another good one is that I am also currently in a POC. Normally for the first install day, we asked for an hour and a half. Within 30 minutes, we had the product up and running, and we enabled our bad user ID analytic, and we actually saw from the 1 minute, or it's either 1 minute or 3 minute window. Oh no, wait, this is actually it starts picking it up right away for bad usernames. But we started seeing that they were in the middle of a dictionary attack, and there was something. They had a host that had malware in it that was running various username accounts trying to gain access. So you were seeing like admin and all these various types of admin accounts show up, all sorts of crazy usernames unassociated with the domain. So like here we see a lot of various domain names show up internally that I pick up from just development use. But there it was just all these administrative accounts were showing up that weren't tied into the organization, and we were able to jump on it that day and identify that there was an attempted breach actually in process.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's where real-time activity monitoring comes from. It's from the point from when it's laid down, we're aware and watching what's going on. There are of course other areas with our limited time here. There's tons of other areas that we would want to look at and understand what's going on with the organization from an AD perspective, file system, and also Exchange. So if somebody's opening up access to mailboxes, like here we're seeing configuration changes for the mailboxes, which is technically an AD event, permission changes directly on the mailbox, or really any kind of owner access or any kind of accesses that we're seeing on the mailboxes. We can see what they're going out and touching. If I could actually click properly here, we can see who's going out, touching what in what mailbox, whether it's administrative access, delegate access, what files, what actual messages are being touched within those users' mailboxes, getting the full scope of visibility across all these unstructured data sources, and then being able to filter them specifically to what it is that you want to see. I've already got, like here, sensitive group modifications. I'm not expecting too much activity here. We're only adding this one user that we've only done in the past, that we've given administrative access to org management here. But being able to scope this out, this is something I would want to tie an alert to, get emailed about. Anybody adds something to any of my specific sensitive groups that I've identified, looking at things like, do I have Exchange admin, Enterprise admin, any of these memberships being modified, get alerted on it, stay aware, and be able to jump on this type of activity immediately. Aside from seeing this within all these various data views and being able to distribute reports, we had also talked briefly about some of the integrations that we have out there. So here, like Splunk, and this is an app that we have right within their Exchange or App Exchange. So we can go and see, like here, the past month or so, all the Active Directory changes, activity, trending analysis, and everything, all the good kind of reporting that you get with the SIM solution, or something like here with QRadar. Same thing. We have that AD app, file system monitoring app. Be able to see what's going on, what's that trending in activity, and be able to see all the specifics like we can here with QRadar. Be able to drill down and see any of these data points. So I know we've only got 5 minutes.
So doesn't QRadar or Splunk have some of that in their products? Or, I mean, I know you guys extend it, but what's your angle on that?
And that's a good question. It really comes down to your limitations with any kind of log parsing. We're not reliant on what's natively included. One of the ones that's easiest to demonstrate, and it has been called the $1 million move with the past customer, is an OU move. Dragging and dropping an OU into another anywhere else within the directory, you can start pushing down GPOs to every object within that OU. That is not a natively monitored activity or event that's occurring within anybody's log by default. Here, it's just a matter of just right-click enable, and then we're monitoring for any of that type of activity. Otherwise, you would never see, first off, that it occurred, and then second, where that move was, being able to.
Yeah, so you're running a sim, but you don't have this, and then somebody gets in, they just copy it, and they move the OU, and then they start doing it from an anonymous location, and off they go, kind of exfilling data, right? And first of all, doing that work, right? So, yep, I get it.
And also aside from just the increased visibility and also the events that are happening themselves, where the event is originating from, and that type of insight that we provide. Also, working with us doing the heavy lifting beforehand, doing any of these analytics, and being able to scope out specifically what events are of concern and what we want to see, we can reduce any kind of EPS that customers may be having to utilize for any kind of event management, or SIM platform. Reduce it, make sure that you're getting relevant events. So when StealthINTERCEPT's talking, that's something worth listening to and reviewing, instead of just having this massive event repository that at times cannot make sense. It may seem like there's too much. We can send that information worth listening to.
And Todd, this is Dan. Just want to piggyback on that, and that, from a ROI perspective, we've helped a lot of different customers, really tied to what Jeff had just mentioned around that massive events repository and all that log data, that native Windows log data that's being fed into a SIM solution that's not really necessarily providing much value. And oftentimes the SIM solutions can be tied to fees, subscription fees or licensing fees, aligned with how much data is it consuming. So obviously reducing, not only increasing the value of the data that's being consumed and providing more contextualized information, but then on top of it, decreasing the total amount of data. It's making the SIM platform better and less expensive.
And still having
totally makes sense.
And still being able, if at any point any of those kind of filtered events ever do become of relevance, still being able to have that audit repository and see all the changes that are occurring.
Yeah. So cool. I know I took up last few minutes, but what you got a minute or two to give us your final thoughts, Jeff? Final things you want to show or say before I take back control?
No, I just want to thank you for your time, letting us reach out to your customer base or your users and let them become more aware of getting that insider threat detection and visibility. Perimeter security is obviously a huge important part of what it is that we work with, but it's after they get inside and start abusing your internal systems is where a lot of damage can originate from as well. And we want to be able to provide that kind of visibility.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for your presentation, and Dan, thanks for your presentation as well. If StealthBits seems like something that you want to talk more about, our account execs will be following up, and we'd be happy to chat with you a little bit, and if it makes sense, to get a individual demo, but really kind of talk about what your needs are, what are you looking to accomplish with your security posture, and how StealthBits Intercept may be a part of that. As always, really appreciate everybody who came today taking the time. We know you have a ton to do, and the fact that you chose to spend 30 minutes with us is not lost on me. I truly appreciate. So for everybody, I wish you a fantastic day and week ahead. I'm Todd Obert from Productive Corp, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye now.